Tonight on Y News. Former President Noynoy Aquino criticizes President Rodrigo Duterte for not trusting Vice President Leni Robredo despite appointing her as drug czar. Vice President Leni Robredo denies inviting prosecutors from foreign courts contrary to President Duterte's claim. Tropical storm Ramon leaves several towns in Cagayan submerged in floodwater. President Duterte orders ban on rice importation amid harvest season. And President Rodrigo Duterte has ordered a ban on sale, importation, and use of electronic cigarettes or vapes. Good evening. Vice President Leni Robredo will remain as the drug czar despite President Rodrigo Duterte's admission that he does not trust her. Meanwhile, the president reiterates in public the things Vice President Robredo should be doing as drug czar. Rosalie Cos explains why.
President Rodrigo Duterte admits he doesn't trust Vice President Leni Robredo, the reason why he's not appointing her as a member of his cabinet. According to the president, aside from her being a member of the opposition, he doesn't know the VP personally. This is also the reason why, despite her appointment as drug czar and co-chair of the Interagency Committee on Anti-Illegal Drugs, she is not appointed a cabinet-level position.
I cannot trust her, not only because she is with the opposition. I do not trust her because I do not know her. Hindi ko alam kung sino ang kausap niya noon, kung sino mga politiko, kung sino mga tao. Probably the biggest actually of a drug manufacturing apparatus was in Bicol.
The chief executive also admits he is doubtful about the vice president's tendency to share the government's classified data, particularly matters pertaining to the anti-drug war.
If that is the way her mouth behaves, that is the way, scatterbrain. I will talk to this, I will talk to this, tapos she invited even yung mga prosecutors ng Human Rights Commission, which we rebuke. She was grandstanding na eh. It was like a carnival up there. She was talking right and left dito, gano'n.
The president clarifies he is not firing Robredo as drug czar since she has already been working. The chief executive also mentions the things VP Robredo should be doing as the drug czar.
In the first place, actually, what she should have done, and should understand that, is to give the direction and the guidance. And of course, instruct the law enforcement agencies to make it more transparent to her liking. Need to know lang siya. You know, what is the need to know to complete her. If she asks something, then you give her half of it. The other half, if it's a classified information, there is no need for her to know.
The president has stated before he is ready to give VP Robredo all the powers concerning the drug war. Rosalie Cos, UNTV News and Rescue, Malacanang.
Former President Benigno Noynoy Aquino III criticizes President Rodrigo Duterte for appointing Vice President Leni Robredo as drug czar. Asher Cadapan Jr. tells us why.
For former President Benigno Noynoy Aquino III, President Rodrigo Duterte shouldn't give a huge responsibility to Vice President Leni Robredo if he doesn't trust her.
I do not trust her because I do not know her.
Aquino also questions the motive of the current administration in appointing the Vice President as drug czar. This comes after President Duterte's statement that he doesn't trust VP Robredo.
Yung unang-una, kaya ng tao, pinagkakatiwala mong gagawin yung trabaho at naniniwala ka na gagawin ng tama yung trabaho. Kung wala lahat yun, hindi mo itatalaga. Ay, tinalaga mo. So, pwede ba yung itatalaga mo na hindi mo pagkakatiwala? Medyo magulo yata.
The former Philippine president added it seems there has been no decline in the number of drug users in the country. Instead, the number of individuals apprehended in the administration's ongoing anti-drug campaign keeps on increasing. Former President Noynoy meanwhile commends the vice president's objective to save even one individual in the drug war.
Ang bigat noong pinasukan niyang to, Tandaan na natin, hindi naman siya tinatratong, sabi natin, kakampi nila o kaibigan na para bang yung kakailanganin niyang kooperasyon ay hindi nakakatyak mula sa simula't simula. Pero dagdag ang paghanga natin kay VP.
Asher Kadapan Jr., UNTV News and Rescue, Quezon City.
Vice President Leni Robredo denies inviting a human rights prosecutor for the country's drug war. Vice President Robredo, meanwhile, confirms sending a letter to President Rodrigo Duterte. Vincent Arboleda will tell us why.
First in the president's press conference last night were the issues regarding Vice President Leni Robredo. Other than having no trust in the Vice President, President Rodrigo Duterte also criticized the alleged act of the Vice President inviting a human rights prosecutor. But according to VP Robredo, she did not invite any human rights prosecutor for the country's drug war. Since being appointed as the co-chair of the Interagency Committee on Anti-Illegal Drugs, the VP has met with only two groups of international agencies, namely the UN Office on Drugs and Crime and officials from the Embassy of the United States.
Yun lang yung aking kausap. Wala akong UN prosecutor na kakilala, wala akong sinulatan, wala akong inimbita. Kaya kung may nakarating sa kanyang may iniimbita ako, fake news yun.
After her briefing with the Dangerous Drugs Board today, VP Robredo said PIDEA Chief Aaron Aquino offered to brief her on classified information pertaining to the country's drug war. But due to the issues on her being an ICAD co-chairperson, the Vice President said,
He was offering to brief me on some classified matters. Pero ako, I refused. Kasi sabi ko, hihintayin ko muna yung sagot ni Presidente dun sa aking clarification kung ano ba talaga yung limits ng aking mandato.
According to VP Robredo, she has also sent a letter to the President for the clarification of the scope and limitations of her mandate as ICAD co-chair. Despite the President's words last night, the Vice President says she will continue to do her job.
Ako sa akin, gagawin ko yung lahat na makakaya ko para magawa ko yung trabaho ko. Hindi ko kontrolado yung iba. Pero yung experience ko kasi sa ICAD, majority naman ng agencies very cooperative.
Vincent Arboleda, UNTV News and Rescue, Quezon City.
Residents in Santa Ana, Cagayan were not able to sleep last night. Meanwhile, around 3,000 families across Cagayan province are temporarily staying in evacuation centers while others return to their homes. Joanano tells us why.
Tropical storm Ramon made landfall in the town earlier today. TS Ramon, which is downgraded to a low-pressure area as of 5 p.m. today, brought heavy rains and strong winds in the province, leaving the towns of Santa Ana, Gonzaga, Santa Teresa, Gataran flooded.
Tumaas bigla ng tubig, tapos iniwan namin yung pagkain dyan sa lamesa at dali-dali naming binuhat yung mga gamit nilagay sa mas mataas. Hindi namin i-expect na ganito kalaki yung tubig.
Hindi nga na kami natulog kasi inaabangan namin yung pagtaas ng tubig kasi biglaan.
In Gonzaga town, residents were immediately brought to the evacuation center.
Pagbalik ko dito sa may Sibanang, hanggang baywang na yung baha, kaya tumawag ako sa MDRRMO for rescue. Nagpadala naman sila agad ng dump truck para i-rescue yung mga evacuees.
Not only houses but also farms are now submerged in flood water. Trees were toppled, the roofs damaged. Bridges and roads are now impassable. Several towns across the province still have no power supply. Based on the latest count of the Cagayan Provincial Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Office, around 3,000 families are temporarily staying in evacuation centers. Some evacuees have returned to their homes. They were given with relief goods.
Pwede na daw po kami umuwi. Umuwi kami. Maawa na lang sa amin ng Panginoon, ma'am. Diyos na lang bahala sa amin.
Sabi nila, ma'am, na pwede na daw kaming umuwi. Pag ano naman daw, ma'am, kukunin daw naman kami ulit, ma'am.
The PDRRMO is still assessing the damages left by Typhoon Ramon in the entire province. There are no reports of casualties or missing persons. After Ramon, the Cagayan provincial government is bracing for Tropical Storm Sara. Joanano, UNTV News and Rescue, Santa Ana, Cagayan.
Formerly tropical cyclone Ramon weakens into a low-pressure area. As of 4 p.m. today, it was located in the vicinity of Caranglan, Nueva Ecija. It will bring light to moderate with intermittent heavy rains over Ilocos Sur, Abra, Kalinga, Mount Province, Ifugao, Isabela, La Union, Benguet, Nueva Vizcaya, and the rest of Ilocos Norte, while Batanes, Cagayan, including Babuyan Islands, Apayao, and the northern portion of Ilocos Norte will experience light to moderate with occasional heavy rains. Meanwhile, Tropical Storm Sara is now heading towards northern Luzon. It was located at 540 kilometers east of Tuguegarao City, Cagayan at 4 p.m. today, with maximum sustained winds of 65 kilometers per hour and gustiness of up to 80 kilometers per hour. It is moving north-northwest at 30 kilometers per hour. Based on Pag-asa's forecast, Sara will move closer to northern Luzon by tomorrow and on Friday. Tropical cyclone wind signal number 1 is raised over Batanes, northeastern portion of Cagayan, particularly Gataran, Lalo, Baguio, Gonzaga, Santa Ana, Calayan, including Babuyan Islands. Winds of up to 60 kilometers per hour may be experienced in those areas within 36 hours. According to the Weather State Bureau, twigs and branches of small trees may be broken. Some banana plants may be tilted or downed. Some houses of very light materials like nipa and kogon may be partially unroofed. Pag-asa warns the waves on coastal waters may gradually develop and become bigger and higher. The people are advised to listen to the latest severe weather bulletin issued by Pag-asa every 6 hours. President Rodrigo Duterte suspends rice importation in the country. He also orders to concerned agencies to buy the produce of local farmers. Rosalie Cos clarifies why.
It's the harvest season of farmers in the country. With this, President Rodrigo Duterte confirms he's ordering the suspension of rice importation. The chief executive has also directed the concerned government agencies to buy the Filipino farmers' rice products.
Kung gusto talaga natin walang problema, bilihin lahat ng produce ng producer, farmers. Bilihin. Ngayon, mahal. Farm gate nila. Babawi sila. Hindi na pala. Gagastos tayo, bilyon. Bilihin natin. Tapos, wala. Palugi tayo. Para yung mga farmers, may resulta sa pawis nila.
Despite this, the chief executive has no plans to repeal the rice tariffication law. He says he believes rice tariffication will resolve the problem of corruption and food crisis in the country.
Sabihin ko kay Dar, ang Congress, you appropriate money and we will buy all the rice, farm gate price ng ating farmers. Mag-import tayo as a buffer because their produce will not be enough for the consumers, the 110 million Filipinos eating rice.
Rosalie Cos, UNTV, News and Rescue, Malacanang.
After President Rodrigo Duterte announced to halt the importation of rice in the country, a group doubts the sincerity of the chief executive amid calls to end the implementation of the rice liberalization law. May Bermudez will tell us why.
A promise which he never fulfilled. This is how the group Bantay Bigas describes the announcement of President Rodrigo Duterte of temporarily halting rice importation in the country. The announcement was the president's response to the call of local farmers who bear the brunt of low palay prices. Bantay Bigas says they doubt the sincerity of the chief executive.
Puro salita, wala siyang in-issue na executive order para talagang ipakita niya na sincero siya doon sa pagsasabi na ihinto yung rice importation.
Kilusang magbubukid ng Pilipinas meanwhile dares President Duterte to make his pronouncement real and ask the National Food Authority to buy farmers' palay for not less than 20 pesos per kilogram.
Stop killing the rice industry, save our rice farmers.
The group says President Duterte may direct the Congress to suspend and review the rice liberalization law. Once this happens, ordinary farmers like Ignacio Ortiz will be the ones to most benefit.
Dahil sa nananatili yung utang ko ay hindi pa nababayaran hanggang sa ngayon, nagko-construction ako, sumasama na lamang ako mag-construction. Kahit kung ano yung po pwede mapagkakitaan, nagtutubero ako. Ganun ang trabaho ko.
Agriculture Secretary William Dor will meet President Duterte to discuss the suspension of rice importation. Mai Bermudez, UNTV News and Rescue, Quezon City.
Welcome back to Y News. We pick up to where Alex Baltasar left off. I am William Theo, and here are the headlines. President Rodrigo Duterte orders ban on the sale, importation, and use of e-cigarettes or vapes. President Rodrigo Duterte defends construction of the 50 million peso worth 2019 SEA Games cauldron. PNP CIDG provides a breakdown of the 13 million peso reward money from Congress for the Batocabe slay case. And Police Brigadier General Vicente Danao thanks President Duterte after he was included in the short list of candidates for the next PNP chief post. Good evening. President Rodrigo Duterte, who used to be a smoker, has ordered a ban on vaping. He warns the use of vape is dangerous to health. Rosalie Cos tells us why.
President Rodrigo Duterte orders law enforcement agencies to arrest those who will continue to use electronic or e-cigarettes in the country. The president also bans the importation of vape products. The chief executive made the statement during a press briefing in Malacanang last night.
So vaping is also dangerous and I am banning it. And if you're smoking now, you will be arrested. I am banning the importation. So customs, you listen to it. I'm banning it altogether.
Admittedly, the president used to be a heavy smoker. But in 2017, he ordered a smoking ban in public places throughout the country. After last night's statement on banning the use of vape products, he will issue an executive order to formalize the measure. Meanwhile, according to a vape shop attendant, if the sale of vape will be totally banned, the government should altogether ban tobacco products.
Unahin nilang tanggalin yung kumpanya ng sigarilyo dito sa Pilipinas. So ngayon, kung wala nang naninigarilyo, wala nang tao sigurong magbe-vape.
The Philippines has recently recorded its first case of electronic cigarette or vaping-associated lung injury or EVALI. According to reports, various countries have already banned e-cigarettes such as Brazil, Singapore, Mexico, Cambodia, Thailand, India, among others. Rosalie Cos, UNTV News and Rescue, Malacanang.
Meanwhile, PNP officer in charge, Police Lieutenant General Archie Gamboa, declares no vape zone in all Philippine National Police camps across the country. Leia Ilagan explains why.
The leadership of the PNP declares the prohibition of using vape or e-cigarettes in all camps of the Philippine National Police nationwide. PNP spokesperson, Police Brigadier General Bernard Banac says any police officer who will be caught using vape shall face administrative case.
Effective today, ang agarang pagbabawal sa paggamit ng vapes or e-cigarettes at ang pagtiyak na ang lahat ng gagamit nito in public ay maaresto.
Banac adds PNP officer in charge Police Lieutenant General Archie Gamboa orders an arrest of those who will be caught using vape in public places based on the existing city ordinances on a smoking ban.
Ang lahat na maaresto ay tinitiyak nating makakalaboso, madala sa presinto at doon sila magpapaliwanag. Sila po ay ire-record lamang sa mga presinto natin na lumabag sila sa kautosang ito, ordinansa, at kung may pinatupad na ng mga local government units ng mga ordinansa smoking in public places, ay maaari di po silang ma-penalize.
If someone gets caught using vape in city or municipality without any existing ordinance on vaping ban, the police will just record the incident and send the individual home. Banac adds the PNP will be coordinating with local government units, vape manufacturers and sellers to stop the sale of e-cigarettes. Leia Ilagan, UNTV News and Rescue, Camp Crame.
President Rodrigo Duterte underscores there is no corruption involved in the controversial multi-million peso cauldron for the country's hosting of the 30th Southeast Asian Games. Harleen Delgado reports why.
President Rodrigo Duterte describes the controversial 50 million peso SEA Games cauldron as a product of the mind. He defends there is no loss in the structure as it is a rendition of a national artist's mind.
Ito, si Minyosa was commissioned by the government to create yung nakita mo yung kaldero ngayon. It is a product of the mind. You cannot estimate how much nalugi ka because it is the rendition of the mind of the creator. Kung yan ang singil niya, di sabihin niya, edi huwag mong bilhin yung ayaw mo. Yan ang presyo ko. That's like a painting.
It was the late national artist for architecture Francisco Bobby Manyosa who designed the cauldron. He was also behind the designs of the Coconut Palace and the EDSA Shrine. House Speaker Alan Peter Cayetano, who chairs the Philippine Southeast Asian Games Organizing Committee or PhilHealth, also justifies the cost of the cauldron. He says the cauldron is a work of art, adding that the structure is not overpriced. Cayetano adds the cauldron is cheaper compared with that of Singapore's, worth 62 million pesos when it hosted the 2015 SEA Games. Singapore's DNA-inspired cauldron stands at 19.2 meters, shorter than the 50-meter high cauldron in New Clark City. It is made of stainless steel with LED mesh, designed with DP architects and constructed by a local firm, Kingsman, while the Philippines cauldron is said to be contracted by Manyosa and Company, led by the late national artist's son. Harleen Delgado, UNTV News and Rescue, Quezon City.
Senate Minority Leader Franklin Drilon expects the criticisms of President Rodrigo Duterte after he divulged the huge government funds spent on the 2019 Southeast Asian Games cauldron. Nel Maribohok reports why.
President Rodrigo Duterte criticizes Senate Minority Leader Franklin Drilon. This after the senator questioned what he called extravagant expenses on the SEA Games Stadium's cauldron, said to be worth over 50 million pesos.
Ilang kilometro magawa sa presyo sa Coliseum ni Drilon? Is it used every day? Well, if it is used and making money, fine. But how many kilometers of those public structures there in Iloilo?
The president is referring to the Iloilo Convention funded by millions of pesos by the previous administration. On this, Senator Drilon said,
I do not expect him to support me.
The senator will leave the judgment on this issue to the Filipino people. Despite this, Senator Drilon remains firm on his first position.
Kahit yung mga atleta, hindi na po nila makikita yung pagsindi nitong kalderong ito. Sa television na nila makikita. So, what symbols are we talking about? Symbol of, I maintain that this is a symbol, this caldero is a symbol of extravagance.
The senator insists the money spent on the cauldron could have been used to construct 50 classrooms. Nel Maribohok, UNTV News and Rescue, Senate of the Philippines.
And in other news, the PNP Criminal Investigation and Detection Group, or CIDG, gives the breakdown of the recipient of the 13 million peso reward money from the House of Representatives intended for the Batocabe Slay case witnesses. But the CIDG cannot tell exactly where the 20 million peso reward money from the office of the presidents go. Leia Ilagan explains why.
After the slaying of Ako Bicol Representative Rodel Batocabe and his police escort on December 22, 2018 at a gift-giving event in Daraga, Albay, President Rodrigo Duterte gave a 20 million peso reward money for any witness who can give vital information on the crime and its mastermind. The House of Representatives also raised a 13 million peso reward, while the Albay provincial government gave 2 million peso. All in all, the Philippine National Police got a total of 35 billion pesos to reward the witness or witnesses to the crime. In the hearing of the House of Committee on Public Accounts today, Criminal Investigation and Detection Group Acting Director, Police Brigadier General Joel Coronel said the CIDG and the Intelligence Group received only 13 million pesos out of the 35 million peso reward, which they have distributed to the witnesses. The 13 million pesos includes the 6 million pesos given to a witness, Emmanuel Judavar. Coronel said aside from Judavar, there are 7 other witnesses. 2 of them received 2 million peso each. 2 more witnesses received 1 million peso each. Another one received 500,000 pesos and 2 others received 250,000 peso each. In Judavar's text message to UNTV News and Rescue, he says he is hoping the other witnesses that CIDG claims will help resolve the Batocabe slay case. However, the CIDG has failed to present a breakdown of the 20 million peso reward money from the office of the President. Coronel claimed the CIDG has nothing to do with the reward money because it was personally received by former PNP Chief Oscar Albayalde.
Saan napunta yung 20 million pesos?
Sir, the records of the distribution and liquidation of which were submitted directly to the office of the President, and I do not have the records. It did not pass through the CIDG, Your Honor.
I'm more than convinced that we should conduct an inquiry kung saan napunta yung 20 million pesos, because the 20 million pesos came from the office of the President, and this is taxpayers' money.
But General Albayalde says in a text message to UNTV News and Rescue, a total reward money was with the CIDG and the Intel Group. Meanwhile, Attorney Justin Batocabe, son of slain Congressman Batocabe, expressed dismay over the retraction of the 3 suspects in favor of former Daraga Mayor Darwin Baldo.
Yan na nga po ang nakakabahala dyan, nasulot. And ang balita sa akin, nabayaran daw para bumaliktad and tinakot. At the same time, binigyan ng abogado.
Ako Bicol Representative Alfredo Garbin Jr. is also not convinced with the CIDG's explanation about the reward money. According to Garbin, they will set a date for another hearing which will be attended by General Albayalde and the 3 suspects.
We have a second hearing wherein former Chief PNP Albayalde will be invited, and including those persons that will be invited, yung 3 pang witnesses that have received the bounty, and we also invited the provincial director of the Albay Police, Colonel Asueta, to shed light doon sa 2 million. 3 suspect din sila, and they also receive, and we have to confirm on them kung magkano talaga yung kanilang na-receive.
In the hearing this morning, some senators expressed they want to issue a subpoena and show cause order for contempt against General Albayalde if he does not appear in the next hearing. Albayalde, on the other hand, said he did not receive any invitation for today's hearing. Leia Ilagan, UNTV News and Rescue, Camp Crame.
Meanwhile, President Rodrigo Duterte remains undecided whom to designate as the new Philippine National Police Chief. The president mentioned on Tuesday night he is considering PNP Calabarzon Chief Police Brigadier General Vicente Daunao for the post. Daunao, for his part, is pleased after finding out being shortlisted. Vincent Arboleda details why.
President Rodrigo Duterte has received the shortlist for the possible next Philippine National Police Chief, but the chief executive says until now he is still studying who will replace retired and controversial former PNP Chief Police General Oscar Albayalde.
He would be appointing the heads of every department there, especially the controller and the finance people. Sino yung gusto niyang mapunta doon? Sino yung kaibigan niya? Ako kasi, pag binigyan kita ng pwesto, hindi na ako nagkikalam.
Aside from PNP Officer in Charge Lieutenant General Archie Gamboa, Directorial Staff Major General Guillermo Eliazar, and Police Lieutenant General Camilo Casculan, the President has also mentioned the name of PNP Calabarzon Chief Police Brigadier General Vicente Daunao.
Itong mainit na ulo, yung PD, Daunao, mainit ang ulo ng tao, bata. Pero he's good. Worker talaga yan. Parehan sila ni Bato. They can solve a kidnapping overnight. Sabi ko, I want that kidnapping. Ikaw, Daunao, bugbog na palit. Sabi ko, ito, hanapin mo by no morning. ikaw na ang bugbugin ko kasi nambubugbog ka ng pulis.
Danao for his part is pleased after the president mentioned his name.
Well, there are some cases kasi in the past na nasolve namin kaagad within the 24 hours period. Yes, so yung mainitin naman siguro, depende naman siguro yan sa sitwasyon. Lalo na pag makakita ka ng pulis na tarantado, talagang mag-iinit ang ulo mo. Kahit sino. Walang tatay na masaya pag ang anak niya nakikitang loko-loko. Okay, siguro initially talagang magre-react ka.
Senator Christopher Bongo has recently said the next PNP chief could be a one-star general.
I'm very much overwhelmed kung na-mention man yung pangalan ko. And pangalawa, sabi ko nga, I always leave it to the appointing authority kung ano man yung binabalak niya for the PNP.
Danao was assigned in Davao City in 1995 as station commander during President Duterte's time as city mayor.
I see him as my boss, my father, and older brother who always give advices to his people, especially on the implementations of laws, rules, and regulations.
Sherwin Kulubong, UNTV News and Rescue, Laguna.
Church of God International takes the early start of winter season in Winnipeg, Canada as a good opportunity to help the increasing number of homeless through a coat and coffee drive. Brother Miguel Moldes reports.
The winter season started early in Winnipeg this year. During this time, the homeless have no place to go but to the city, like Mary, who brought nothing with her, aside from the clothing she was already wearing.
Since January, I was homeless, and I lived all over. I only had a hoodie and one runner, and I broke 3 toes, so I had a little cast on. And
there's a free coffee.
I was homeless, and I lost everything in my home.
Mary is one of more than 1,000 homeless in Winnipeg, according to Census Canada. During the winter season, they will be struggling with extreme temperatures and weather conditions. In line with the celebration of the 39th anniversary of the program, The Old Path, volunteers from MCGI and UNTV take this as a good opportunity to help them every winter season through continuously giving out free food and hot drinks. One of the volunteers expressed that involvement in this public service being done in the city is something they had learned from Brother Eli Soriano and Brother Daniel Razon.
In Brother Daniel, talagang very humanitarian ang tinuturo nila sa mga volunteers. Lagi nilang sinasabi na tumulong tayo sa lahat ng uri ng tao, especially sa mga mahihirap.
The organizers also added that the Coat and Coffee Drive they conducted this month was only one of the many ongoing public services being done in Winnipeg chapter this year. And through God's help and mercy, the group will continue to carry out going forward. From Winnipeg, Canada in North America, Brad Miguel Moldes for the Ang Dating Daan 39th anniversary, upholding the truth through the gospel and good works.
Welcome back to Y News. An international language center in Malaysia held a fundraising campaign for Filipinos affected by the earthquakes in Mindanao. The school says this can be a regular event if this act becomes successful. Nina Armilio tells us why.
For the very first time, an international language school based in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, raised funds to be sent to Filipinos affected by the series of earthquakes in the Philippine South. Royce Language School has applicants and students that are locals of Mindanao. As a language center, they would like to give assistance to the schools and students in earthquake-stricken parts of Mindanao, the school principal says.
We would like to help any numbers of school as our priority. For being this language school in Malaysia, we do understand that the value of education.
Through this act, the Language Center believe they can somehow help in the speedy recovery of the Mindanaoans who survived the earthquakes and for the children to return to school. According to RLC, this fundraising can be a regular event if their first launch becomes successful.
We have never done that before. This is going to our first experience. We are looking forward to it, and if it goes well, we may make this fundraising activity as one of our usual activities.
Roy's Language Center wants to convey to our fellow men in Mindanao not to lose hope amid this time of despair, because many would like to help. Nina Armilio, UNTV News and Rescue.
And for the news abroad, here's Stephanie C. reporting live from Hong Kong. Stephanie, good evening.
Good evening, William. Tension surrounding the siege by Hong Kong police on anti-government protesters holding up inside a university has eased slightly, with hundreds of activists having left the campus. This report details why.
Hong Kong's top leader, Carrie Lam, said there are still some 100 people inside Polytechnic University, which since Sunday evening has been besieged by the police, who said anyone walking out of the campus would be arrested immediately and may be charged with rioting. Reports say those who are still inside the Polytechnic University are said to be running low on supplies. Among the 600 who got out, 400 were aged 18 or above and were arrested immediately, while 200 were minors and let go after registering with the police. Those arrested could be charged with rioting, which carries a penalty of up to 10 years in prison. Meanwhile, Chinese authorities expressed their opposition to a recent Hong Kong High Court ruling against a law banning face masks during protests that have rocked the city since June. Zhang Tiawei, spokesperson for Parliament's Legal Affairs Commission, said several mainland Chinese lawmakers expressed strong dissatisfaction over the court's Monday decision and that the ruling could yet be overturned by the mainland parliament. According to state-owned Xinhua agency, Zhang said only mainland China's permanent parliamentary body can judge whether a Hong Kong law is in conformity with Hong Kong's constitution. Stephanie C., UNTV News and Rescue.
The Afghan Taliban have freed 2 Western academics held hostage since 2016 in exchange for 3 imprisoned senior militants. American Kevin King and Australian Timothy Weeks were released 3 years after being kidnapped outside the American University of Afghanistan in Kabul, where they worked as professors. The 3 militants arrived in Qatar from Afghanistan as part of the swap. Afghan officials say the deal is aimed at restarting talks with the Taliban. President Ashraf Ghani said last week the decision was a tough but important one and a humanitarian gesture. The White House attacked its own top Ukraine official as he testified to an impeachment hearing. Beverly Saison details why.
The main expert in Ukraine of the National Security Council, or NSC, of the White House, Alexander Vindman, called President Donald Trump's behavior inappropriate after he asked his Ukrainian counterpart Volodymyr Zelensky to investigate his political rival, former Vice President Joe Biden. As he described his reaction to hearing a call between President Trump and his Ukrainian counterpart, President Volodymyr Zelensky, Lieutenant Colonel Vindman came under attack by the official White House Twitter account, which posted a critical quote from his former boss on the NSC questioning his judgment. Republican congressmen pressed Lieutenant Colonel Vindman on the remark and questioned his loyalty to the U.S., asking about instances in which Ukrainian officials approached him about becoming the country's defense minister. The impeachment hearings are an effort by Democrats to establish whether Trump withheld U.S. military aid to Ukraine in order to pressure the country's new leader, Zelensky, into announcing a corruption inquiry into Joe Biden, Trump's leading Democratic rival for the U.S. presidency. Beverly Saison, UNTV News and Rescue, USA.
A bridge collapse that killed 2 people in southwestern France was apparently caused by a lorry that weighed too much. 2 vehicles plunged into the River Tarn north of Toulouse when the bridge fell down on Monday morning. Prosecutors said one of the vehicles, a lorry, weighed more than 50 tons. The suspension bridge, built in 1931, could take a maximum weight of 19 tons. A 15-year-old girl and the truck driver were killed in the accident. 5 people were also seriously injured, including 2 rescuers and local people who had to try to save victims. And those are the news from the other parts of the globe. Back to you, William.
Thank you, Stephanie C., reporting live from Hong Kong. As the League of Public Servants proceed to the next stage of the competition, the games get more exciting as the tough teams from the 2 groups are set for a single-round matchups. Bernard DADIS reports why.
The first set of second-round elimination bouts will feature the battle of multi-season champion AFB Cavaliers against the annual Final Four contender NHA Builders in the main game on Thursday, November 21, 5 p.m. at San Juan Gym. Though injury-plagued, the AFB Cavaliers still have a solid squad led by veterans Eugene Tan, Alvin Zuniga, Vicente Evidor, and Boyet Bautista, together with the blazing young guns such as Jerry Lumongsod, Romeo Milor, and Wilfredo Casulla Jr.
We'll prepare hard pa rin sa practice. Siguro may adjustment kami ng konti kasi baka may tendency mag-relax yung mga players.
While the NHA Builders will lean on the youth and hunger of the team as they have not been in the slate or a championship match despite good campaigns in the past seasons. In the second game, the undefeated DNR Warriors will face the revitalized Agriculture Food Masters.
Kasi alam ko noon may talent sila. Yung challenge lang namin is how to play together. So yun ang ginagawa namin ngayon. Binibigyan ko sila ng tiwala sa sarili nila. And then we will work as a team, play as a team, win as a team, lose as a team.
The Agriculture Food Masters, on the other hand, will try to tarnish DNR's record through effective plays led by rookie Julius Kasaysayan and former professional players Emerson Oreta and Henry Fernandez. In the first game on Thursday triple-header, PhilHealth PLUS will look to add more wins, but they're standing through a duel against Malacanang PSC Camoo, who will attempt to recover from a loss to DNR.
Ganun pa rin, dadagdagan lang talaga namin yung stamina namin. Yung defense namin, kailangan hindi magbago yun. Kailangan dagdagan pa namin ng effort.
The games on Thursday will be aired on Sunday, November 24, 2019, starting at 2 p.m. on UNTV, with live streaming on UNTV News and Rescue's Facebook page and website, untvweb.com. Bernard DADIS, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
Members Church of God International in Melbourne, Australia, visited an elderly facility once again as part of the 39th year anniversary celebration of the Old Path program. Brother J.R. Bagobagon has details in this report.
Members Church of God International paid visit to the elderlies of Imbracia Moonee Valley Aged Care Facility, where traces of happiness were seen on their faces when the group visited them to what they consider as their home.
The Australian population is growing rapidly.
According to the Australian Bureau of Statistics, one person is being added to the population every 83 seconds. Older population is estimated to be 15% or 3.8 million of the country's entire population. Together with the celebration of the 39th anniversary of the Old Path, the group visited the elderlies in Impresia Muni Valley Aged Care Facility. The group also prepared a surprise for one of the elderlies celebrating her 100-year of birth. The management of Impresia has also expressed their gratitude for a very happy day for the elderly residents.
The service that we had by MCGI today was one of the best things I think this nursing home has done. It really got the residents involved in the music, being such a big thing music to the residents. It promotes a range of things, including mental stimulation. They get to reminisce, they get involved. The turnout we had today was one of the biggest I've actually seen for the activities we hold here, so it just goes to show what music does for the residents. As for MCGI, just amazing. I can't thank them enough for coming here today. They have just done so much for us, and to keep doing what they're doing, because it does a lot more than I think they know to people.
While one of the elderlies also thanked MCGI.
I feel absolutely over the moon, lifted. I can't believe the voices could put out such a message in such a wonderful. Oh, I can't say enough words to let you know how proud I am to be here today. I think you've got a wonderful choir here. Thank you, and thank God for their uplifting. Thank you.
Apart from the public service held in Melbourne, there was also another elder care visit in Sydney, Australia, as well as different activities across the country, such as in Perth, where they participated in the weeding and cleanup drive.
The communities here in Australia can expect that members Church of God International will continue to do good works and perform different public services with God's help and mercy. Brother J.R. Bagubagon para sa Ang Dating Daan, 39th anniversary, upholding the truth through the gospel and good works.
And those are the reasons behind the news this November 20, 2019. On behalf of Alex Baltazar, I am William Theo, and before we close, we will recap with today's significant soundbites. Because we need to know, we will always ask why. Good evening.
Kaya mo tao, pinagkakatiwala mong gagawin yung trabaho at naniniwala ka na gagawin ng tama yung trabaho. Kung wala lahat yun, hindi mo itatalaga. Tinalaga mo. So, pwede ba yung itatalaga mo na hindi mo pagkakatiwala? Medyo magulo yata.
Yun lang yung aking kausap. Wala akong UN prosecutor na kakilala, wala akong sinulatan, wala akong inimbita. Kaya kung may nakarating sa kanyang may iniimbita ako, fake news yun.
Tumaas bigla ng tubig, tapos iniwan namin yung pagkain dyan sa lamesa at dali-dali naming binuhat yung mga gamit, nilagay sa mas mataas. Hindi namin i-expect na ganito kalaki yung tubig.
Puro salita, wala siyang in-issue na executive order para talagang ipakita niya na sincero siya doon sa pagsasabi na ihinto yung rice importation.
So vaping is also dangerous and I am banning it. And if you're smoking now, you will be arrested. I am banning the importation. So customs, you listen to it. I'm banning it altogether.
I'm very much overwhelmed kung na-mention man yung pangalan ko. And pangalawa, sabi ko nga, I always leave it to the appointing authority kung ano man yung binabalak niya for the PNP.